Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fearlessly Authentic. I am your host, Jody Harrison Bauer, and I am so excited to have you as my guest today, listening to my show with my amazing guests. I'm so excited. I called you guys guests when I have my own guest here. And as you know, every week we try to educate, empower, inspire, and entertain you so you can live a fearlessly authentic life. Because in my opinion, if you're not living a fearlessly authentic life, what is life all about, right? We have to be true to ourselves. We have to overcome our obstacles and our fears so we can be our truest self. Because I believe, because I am the OG of scaredy cats, that if we are not living without fear, then, we're not living our truest selves. So welcome to the show again, everybody from all of the countries that listen in. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe, leave me a message, email me, all the things that you need to do for a podcast. You can listen to this podcast any place you want to listen to podcasts. And I appreciate you listening every single week. And before we start, I just wanted to talk about a plant-based company called Sakara that I've been using since I turned 60 last year. So I'm now 61 and have been using this product. And it makes me feel amazing. It's plant-based. The food is delivered to my home because I don't know how to cook. I don't like to cook, but I know that there's always a meal there for me. I know it's good for me, and it just fits my schedule. I have a code for you to save 20% off XO Jody. Go to Sakara, that's SAKARA.com. Use my code XO Jody and save 20% off on your first purchase. So here we go. Kim, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. It's been a while. I've been stalking you, following you, listening to you and your daughter. So for everybody, my guest today is Barstool Sports, Kim Hodges. You might know her as Kontent Kim from the podcast. Go ahead.
Because I said so. Barstool Sports, because I said so.
Because I said so. And we are going to get right into that. I just wanted to give you some background on Kim. And you know what, Kim, I was reading this bio from you, and I loved it because I understand that, because our lives are very similar in that way. Family is very important. So Kontent Kim worked for an advertising company before starting a family. She was a stay-at-home mom for 30 years while she raised her two kids in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. During the pandemic, her daughter started making videos of her and posting them on TikTok, leading them to Barstool Sports as the first mother-daughter duo. The two of them now host a podcast called "'Cause I Said So" and are enjoying working together in New York City. So exciting. What is the podcast about?
The podcast is about a mother-daughter relationship. So just mine and Alex's relationship, and kind of how it started out with her making fun of me. And then since we've started doing the podcast, it's been more about how we interact with each other, which all mothers and daughters interact a lot alike. So everyone kind of relates to it. And it's, we try to add a little more information and give out some facts and things like that. But it's basically just about our relationship.
I love that. And that's what really drew me to it. It was actually my daughter who told me, she's like, you have to listen to this podcast. You are going to relate to so many of the things that they talk about. And, you don't see too many. I don't know if there are any. You might be the only ones out there, a mother-daughter podcast, where you're really talking about things that matter to you, relationships, life, music, and just the funny things that daughters, I have two daughters, one is the same age as Alex. Mm-hmm. And so we know that it is the most amazing relationship, but it also could be kind of trying at times, right?
Yes, definitely trying at times.
Yes. And I noticed, and that's really what Alex started doing at the beginning, was saying, look at my mom. Like, does your mom do this? So what are the funniest things that she started doing where she was kind of picking on you in a very loving way?
What was she, did you say, how did she do that?
No, what was she taking videos of that she put up on TikTok?
First of all, she was doing these without me knowing, like, cause you've got her phone in her hand a lot. And she's just kind of looks like she's not doing anything with it, but she was filming me and I didn't know it. So it'd be anything from like ordering the groceries and having them delivered and me going through them kind of mad about it, or just, I don't know. I guess everything I do is sort of silly in her eyes. Like, why does she do it this way? But it'd be how I folded laundry, or how I never sit down, or how I interact with the dogs, or,
Well,
her taking my car and bringing it back, a day later.
and I bet you thought like, hey, Alex, like none of this stuff is like really funny to me. Like this is how I live my life. And I just think it's so interesting how when they get to be a certain age, they sort of stand back a little bit and reflect upon you. And it's in a very mature adult wise, like, look at the way my mom folds the clothes. How does your mom fold the clothes? And I think I saw a video of your husband. You were teaching, it was after you had your surgery on your finger.
Mm-hmm.
And you were teaching your husband how to fold the fitted sheets, which is a very difficult thing to do, but we've all learned how to do it. So have you ever gotten angry at her?
Oh, yes, definitely. There's been times when I'm kind of like, first of all, I could put on a little bit of makeup and I don't have to look that bad, or that's not really funny. Like one night we came home really late, and it was my son, my husband, and I, and we were all pretty much eating a cake almost with our hands because we were hungry, and she was videoing the whole thing. And then she put it out there. And so there's times when it's like, I think that's just not okay to do.
Right.
Or some of the things I say, I think that was really just for you. Like, that's kind of embarrassing. Don't do that.
So was that before you went to Barstool?
Some of them were before, but not as much as since I've been there, because pretty much every text sort of became a target at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So she was like, this is kind of funny. And I'm like, no, that really wasn't funny.
So let's go back to the pandemic. She's living at home with you, and tell me how the whole thing evolved, how you got onto Barstool and so on and so forth.
Well, she was living in LA, and so she had just recently quit her job. So she was just at home, and she thought, well, I'll make these videos, but she was in an apartment by herself or with her husband. And so, excuse me, I'm going to take a drink real quick. They came home. They didn't get to come home for a while. So she really missed us, I think. And then when she came home, she just was hanging out with me nonstop because they'd kind of been in that apartment by themselves. And that's how that started. So she just thought, well, instead of videoing me, this is a lot more interesting to video my mom. So she just started, that's how she started doing it. And then when she was home, she said, I'm going to send this into Barstool Sports, which I wasn't even sure what that was. I kind of just thought it was, funny videos of sport boo-boos.
Right.
And then when she came down and said, oh my gosh, this is what's happening, I was like, okay. I mean, I just was kind of like not sure about it, but it just sounded fun.
I heard her say that she thought it would be more fun to take videos of you than to continue to take videos of herself. So she must find you very entertaining, which is really, really cute.
I guess that's really cute. I mean, we get along really well, and we also tell each other exactly what we think. So she doesn't hold back on anything. So when she thinks I'm doing something funny, or, like, we can pick on each other pretty heavily and not get our feelings hurt.
That's actually a good quality, that you know that about each other. I think now that you're working together as a team, even though I've heard that you refer to her as your boss.
She's definitely my boss now.
How has your relationship changed?
It hasn't changed in a lot of ways, but when it comes to the work part, she's very driven and she wants everything to be perfect. And so I've just learned to kind of not say anything and go with it. So like, she'll re-record a podcast quite a few times till she gets it exactly how she wants it. And sometimes I'll think to myself, I thought it was pretty good, but I've learned just to say, okay, let's go with it, and just always be up and ready to go for the next thing. The one thing I haven't accomplished very well is to do all the social media things. And that really frustrates her, but it is very hard to learn. Like, TikTok is still foreign to me, and I'm still trying to figure out why anybody watches any certain video. So it's really hard to put anything out there.
I can relate. I want to really get into that, but I want to I want to go back to how the journey started, if you don't mind, just
Okay.
so everybody who's listening could understand, like, how they go from living in Oklahoma City to now they're living in New York, and your whole situation, where you're living and so on. So she sent the video to Barstool. They said, "We love you. Come and interview with us." And that was it. It was that fast.
It was really fast. Like, she had a conversation with Gaz on the phone or on Skype, I think. And then, I mean, I was kind of oblivious to how that kind of went down. And then, like, the next day she did it with Dave. And then she came down and was like, "Okay, that's it." So, and we weren't sure how that was going to work. So at first, this is how it started. First, she said, "Oh, you can maybe be there just a week and then we can go back and forth. You don't need to move there." And then it was, "I think you need to be here every couple of weeks, like 2 weeks out of the month." So then I tried alternating every other month, and that didn't work. Every other week. So then she said yesterday, "I think you need to move here full time." And I'm like, "I think we need to figure this out a little bit more." So we're still really trying hard to figure it out.
Right. So I think what's so beautiful, cool, wonderful is I think a lot of women your age, and you're 58, right? Um, would say, "Wow, like, this is such a cool opportunity to work with my daughter all the time. This human that I gave birth to, who's now an adult, and now we get to, like, create content together and be together, like, very, very cool." But then you are in New York now for 2 weeks out of the month, and then you go back. So tell me about your life with your husband, because you have two adult children. Your son is in Georgia. So this was supposed to be like maybe chill time for you and the hubby.
Yes. Before this happened, I was sort of in a kind of a lull. Like, I really thrived and enjoyed doing all my time raising my kids. Like, it was very fulfilling for me. And then when they left, I thought, okay, this is me time. This is great. But it just wasn't. Like, I still felt like I needed to be doing more. I couldn't just do the hang out, play this, book clubs, those kind of things. It just wasn't enough. And all the jobs that I wanted to get were sort of like a part-time this or that. And everyone was like, "No, you can't leave when you want. You won't be able to go on family vacations and things like that." So I just still was like, I kept trying to fill it with anything that I could do. So when she said this, it turned out I love New York City and I was all in. I thought this was great, but it is, if you do it 2 weeks out of the month. Joe was like, "Yeah, I can handle a week in New York." So that means we're really only apart a week. And that means the dogs really only have to have a babysitter for a week, which works out okay.
Right.
So that's why it works out okay how it is right now. And it is hard, though, I will say, because it's like 2 weeks there, I get really into a groove, and then come home and it takes me a couple of days to recover from just that going. And then I have to kind of try to reconnect with my friends here and get back to what I was doing. And just when I get there, it's time to go again. So it's trying, but I think I'll adjust to it.
Do you think, how's your husband adjusting to it?
I think he's doing pretty good. We just got an apartment, and I think that will make it better, because staying in a hotel room was hard. Like, it's just, you can't relax or anything. So this last time we got an apartment, we moved in. So I think he'll be more comfortable now. And so will I. So we can, eat there and kind of chill and hang out and have a consistent place to sleep that's comfortable.
No, that sounds like a great, so he's there with you for 1 week. You're in the city for 2 weeks. Then you go back home to Oklahoma for 2 weeks.
Yes.
That's a lot, I would be tired, and I know you have a lot of energy. I have a lot of energy also, but I saw the Instagram post of you laying on the sofa. And I know that when I even go in for a day or a weekend to spend with my daughter there, it's just the hustle and the bustle. I sound so old, right? When we're talking about hustle and the bustle.
I know.
I'm sorry, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm fine with it. It's just a lot of chaos, and it's a lot of stimulation, right?
Yes. So it's a constant go, go, go. You get to your apartment, you're kind of like, I am missing out on everything. I got to go, 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 because there's so much to do, and there's so many great restaurants, and it's just a lot. But right now I think basically we've just been working so much, and she's still getting in a groove, even though she's been there longer. So she's more relaxed with it. And I'm kind of at the part where she first started, where I'm just really grinding on everything. But it is just such a vibrant city. It's hard to relax. And I'm not connecting with my friends when I'm there. So it's pretty much just me in the city and what I'm doing with her.
I
So
would think
that,
so. Yeah,
yeah,
I would think that you're kind of like in a bubble. So then you come back home and you're like, okay, I got to get into that groove. And I'm sure that you will figure it out. But I
yeah,
think there are so many women, I'm just going to call it our age, that would, that felt the same way you were feeling, that, I'm in my late 50s. I think you said your husband's semi-retired. Am I just waiting for the kids, our adult children, to come home and do something with them? Am I waiting for the next vacation? Like, there's got to be something that, not that our children and our husbands don't stimulate us, but stimulate us more. I think a lot of women can relate to where you were, and how beautiful is it that Alex created this opportunity, right?
it's incredible. And I'm so happy for it. But also, I mean, I was thinking in my mind, like, okay, I'm almost 60 and I should have grandkids by now, but I don't. So I'm like, that's kind of your next phase. So if I
Right.
had that, I probably would have been just perfectly fine. Um, but I also think about it like I'm not even 60 yet. Probably have 30 years left. Why was I thinking about retirement time? Like, why? I still have plenty of time to do a lot. And I have people who they'll go, oh, you better do everything you can now, because when you get a few years down the line, you're not going to be able or have the energy to do all that. And I'm thinking, but why? I should have plenty of energy for the next 30 years to do plenty. I have time for retirement further down the line.
You are so vibrant and alive, and you have so much. I mean, there's nothing stopping you right now. You're just going to keep going on and on. And when somebody decides to pop out a grandkid, that's maybe when you'll slow it down. I feel the same way. Like, eventually I will become a grandmother, fingers crossed. I think you want them more than I do right now. But I think that is the next turn. But for right now, I think we're both on the same page. Like, bring it on. And you're in
Yes.
such a young environment too at Barstool, that that's just going to keep you even younger, right? And working with your daughter.
I hope so. I have learned so much from working there. Besides the fact at Barstool, like before I went in, I thought this is going to be the most interesting group of people. Like, I bet these guys are just, full on guys. They are, when I got in there, they are so supportive and so polite. And you can tell everyone in there has just had a great upbringing. I mean, I really feel like they have. I love being in there and being around them.
Do you feel like the mom there?
I kind of do. And then sometimes when I watch them, I feel like they know so much more than I do about what we're doing that I feel like I'm older just trying to catch up. But I mean, I do kind of feel like the mom, just from when they go to drop the F-bomb, a lot of times they'll go, oops, excuse me. Things like
Right.
that, I think is great. But I learn a lot from all of them just because of what all they do. They all work very hard.
Yeah. And I'm sure that you and Alex work really hard too. I mean, this is a job. And I think it was your first or second episode where Alex said, okay, mom, tell everybody you work for Barstool, and you were funny. You said, yes, I receive a paycheck. I get
Yeah.
paid from them. Yes, I work for them. And I just think that you are a great inspiration for so many women who think that, as we just spoke about, that it's too late to start something new, and that they're thinking about retirement. They're thinking about slowing down. And you're here to say, no way, I'm going to keep going until I want to stop. Right.
Right. And I'm interested in photography and things, and I always piddled with it here and there. I wish I would have, I could have. There's so many things that you could do. I'm just push through it. Just do it. Just put it out there. There's a lot of things you can do without having your daughter get you a job that you could still do.
Right. Right.
Like,
Tell
take
me.
your hobby and push it a little bit. Or
Yeah, I saw a picture of you with the camera, and I thought, oh, she must be into photography. So I think that's a cool hobby. And I mean, certainly you can use it wherever. Well, your name is Kontent Kim. So I wanted to ask you, how did you get that name, Kontent Kim? And when did you ever, before this job, were you ever creating content elsewhere on social media?
no, I mean, just with, just silly little things. Alex actually just took my phone one day and changed my name. So that's how I became Kontent Kim.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
I
let's,
th- I think somebody said something to her when she was videoing me on something, and they were like, "Oh, that's your content." And she was like, "Oh, okay."
It's a great name. So tell me what it's like, what it goes through your mind. I know, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm really not on Facebook very often, but it is hard to create content and then to make it visually pleasing, make it, pleasing to the ear, to the eye. How do you come up with your own content, or do you create content with your daughter?
It seems like that people like it more when Alex and I do it together, as opposed to when we do it by ourselves. And the comments, they really like it when I jab back at her, which is fine. But for some reason, it almost seems mean for a mom to jab back. I don't know why. Like, I can kid back with her son, but it's just a little bit different than when she kids with or pokes at me, I guess. And so I'm still learning how to do that. I mean, there's so many variations to it that I am really just now learning. I mean, how to create a post with writing and things like that, like the font and this, and then there's our logo that has this font. That's all just like, and what's hard for me is sometimes when you're on one platform, it sort of crosses over. Now they're doing all these weird videos or funny videos on Instagram that you see on TikTok, and they're in the reels. And it's like, what do you really, what content goes to what site? Like, they really have some formula behind it, but I don't know. That's just hard. I didn't even know what content was when I started working there, because my husband knew, which cracked me up. I was like, content about what? Somebody needs to tell me this. And they're like, it's just content. So and that makes it even harder, because it could really be anything. Anything. So then you go, oh, I can do anything.
Right. And then anything. And I've heard you and Alex talk about that you thought, okay, we're going to start a podcast. We're here at Barstool. We're going to start a podcast. We have so many things to talk about. And then you go to sit down to create the dialogue or the thoughts or the ideas the same way I do for my show or posting or whatever it is. And then you say, oh, wait a minute. Do we really have that much to talk about? Like, and the stuff that we're going to talk about, is it really even interesting? And I'm thinking, even as we're talking here, as people are listening, are they cracking up that there are these two women talking about content? You know what I mean? It's just like, because we're just not in that world, but we've been thrown into that world in our own way. Right. So it's, you think there's so much content, but where do you start?
That's right. But I will tell you this. So I love listening to your podcast, because the stuff that you talk about, the guests that you have on there you're very targeted. And it's really information, one, that I might be afraid to ask, or I didn't even know to ask.
Thank you.
So I love that about your podcast, because there's so much information in it. It's always very helpful, and you can apply it to everything in my life, like in the ages that we're in.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So we're going to a break in a few minutes, but so Kim and I met last week, and I was so happy that we got to meet in person, IRL. So I just learned that. Do you know what IRL is?
Wait, we went through this.
Right. In real life.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes.
Right. So I didn't know. And so I asked my daughter, okay, so if IRL is in real life, what's URL? And she said, they're unrelated, Mom.
They are.
But like, why can't they be related? Did that confuse you?
It did confuse me. And I remember thinking, so what is URL? I forgot now.
Well, that's just the website, like www.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's something we've known for a long, long time, but why did they have to do IRL and URL? There should be some kind of relationship there.
Why do they have to do a lot of those things? I'm kind of like, I don't even get it. Like I saw in a text, someone said heard. Okay.
Heard?
What do you mean? Do you get what I'm saying? I still don't know what it means. Like heard.
Oh, heard. Yeah. I don't know. I started saying something before when we got into the IRL, but so we met each other IRL in real life. I don't know if that's a cool thing to say, but I'm just saying it anyway, because it's my show. And remember, the girl next to us wanted to know the names of our shows, because she was eavesdropping. She was lovely. And I just thought that was cute, because I think between, she's watching these two women talk. We've got so much to say about what's going on in our lives, that a younger person was like, hey, you guys seem really cool. what show are you on and what do you talk about? And, that's the wonderful thing about living in New York is that people are just going to ask. But yeah, there is so much content, but I just don't think we sometimes realize it because it's so overwhelming.
No, I think that's right. And I think everyone that's a daughter and a mother, they can pretty much relate to that and get information from it. Like you just kind of, or get something that's thought provoking, or, oh, I do it this way, or, oh, I do it that way, or that's a good thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. We are going to take a break. We are going to be back in a few minutes with a Kontent Kim. See you in a few minutes.
Okay.
Welcome back, everybody, to Fearlessly Authentic. I am here with Barstool Sports, Kim Hodges, and you may know her as Kontent Kim. Kim, welcome back after the break.
Thank you.
We were talking, well, let's go back. Talking about, because I said so. One of the things I also heard you say was, I've never said that, Alex, to your daughter. And she said, yeah, you did, Mom.
No, that happens a lot. And I really don't think I said that. And then she'll be pretty confident that I did say that. I think we have that conversation a lot, but I have realized now that we're getting a lot of it in writing, or videoed, that sometimes, so for instance, today she was like, they were making fun of me, but by the way that I answered something yesterday. And she said, that's not what the question was. So then I rewound it and I listened to her question. I'm like, no, I think in your head, you asked me this question and you thought I was going to answer it this way, but this was the answer. So no, I think that we and a lot of times she gets mad at me because she said, I told you that. And I'm like, the way that you said that didn't come off that way, because a lot of times I don't know everything that she's saying, like when it comes to videoing or recording something. So yeah, but I think that's a mother-daughter thing that goes on a lot.
I do. And so what is the feedback you've been getting from your listeners? Are they relating to the content? Do they love it? What do they want to hear more of?
Okay. A lot of people said they like to hear us kind of banter back and forth or get in arguments. That's not my favorite thing, because I don't like to listen to people argue at all. And
it doesn't sound like that's really your relationship. So why put on that air, right? I mean,
well, when we argue, it's more like we're just telling each other what the other person's doing. So it's not, yeah. But if we kind of get really in a heated argument about something, I really don't want to do it on the mic. I mean, I don't. But sometimes she tries to provoke me and gets me a little riled.
I've noticed that she tries to get you riled up because she's just trying to pull information from you. And I love how strong you are. And I think you give her back the right amount of banter. I think it takes we know you're very confident. It takes a very confident woman to get on air with her daughter or anywhere and start a banter and hold your own. And I really love how you hold your own and get your point across and say, you know what, Alex, I love you to death. You are the center of my universe, but I'm going to disagree with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that's right. I'll tell you, at first I was afraid that I would be politically incorrect. And I did get in trouble for a few things, but we kind of got past that. That took a while. Not even meaning to, just generational things.
Right.
And so
right.
we tried to discuss some of those, but they're almost stay away from that a little bit. But the generations, like between my mom and me, I'm sort of appalled at some of the things they say. And and Alex is a little appalled at some of the things that I say, but talking about it out loud sometimes helps a little bit.
Exactly. And so how do you protect your privacy? I think that you both do a great job of sharing a lot about yourselves, but where do you draw the line where you say to yourself, or you've discussed with your daughter, we're not going to take it any farther than this? So the last episode I think you recorded last week was about relationships and keeping it steamy between you and your husband. And she was sort of doing Q&A with you as the old married couple, let's just say.
Yeah.
Okay. And where do you not answer the questions anymore?
Well, like on that instance, I was in the room with 3 very young girls. So, I mean, the 2 girls that work with us are a lot younger than Alex. And they were just, you could tell they were dying. They were just snickering away. And then when Alex is like, ooh, gross, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to go there. It's just not okay. And I mean, that would be a conversation you and I could have, and I'd feel perfectly fine, probably to a certain extent, because I know a lot, but on there, a lot of guys listen. I mean, it's like 40% guys that listen. So they don't want to hear that.
Right. And I think that, again, you need to draw the line as to what you'll talk about, what you feel is comfortable. And, I know you guys are still getting into the groove. I thoroughly love listening to your podcast. Everybody listen to this podcast because I said so on Barstool Sports. One of the questions that I just heard that I don't know if you knew the answer to this. So you were talking about somebody said to you on social, what's your mom's body count?
Oh yeah. I did not know what that meant.
I
Do you
didn't
know what that means?
No, I had no idea. I just learned it from listening to your show.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So so that's how many people you've slept with?
Yes. And I just am shocked that anybody would even ask that question.
Well, because you're gorgeous.
Well, no, but like, why would anyone ask anyone else that question? What's your body count?
Because we're in different times. People don't understand. And as your daughter said, when you're on social media, you're sort of putting yourself out there to be crucified and just criticized by anybody. Yeah. And, I put a video out on TikTok last May or June, and it ended up getting 5.2 million views.
Oh, wow.
And it was a video of the different shoes that I wore in different generations. So when I was a mom, when I, got divorced, when I got remarried, and I have very muscular legs. And a lot of the comments were about how muscular my legs were and, asking if I was a man because my legs. Yes. So I thought it was funny if I wasn't confident in who I was. So if I was somebody younger who didn't have the self-confidence, that it could really break you down. So I just think that people feel that they can say anything in the world to us when we're in a public forum, right?
Yes. I do think it's fun when people that are on there comment, take up for you. They're like, kind of like, well, that was hateful. You need to get off here or something. I think they never respond back. They never say anything, but it upsets other people too. And I think just don't call any light to them. But yeah, they seem to be able to pick on the things that you're just like, what?
I totally agree. So what is your favorite platform? Do you like Instagram more or TikTok, so where are you in the liking and feel most comfortable?
I'm the most comfortable on Instagram just because that was the one thing I was doing before. Like I'd kind of gotten off Facebook just because I'm not sure why, but I just kind of liked the quickness of Instagram. It was just easy and fast. And I could follow all my nieces and nephews and their kids easily on there and see what was going on. And that's probably the main reason I was on there, was just to keep up with everybody. So
you like, you're super energetic. So you like that energy, that fast pace versus, I agree with you. Facebook to me seems like it's for, moms with little kids, or I don't know.
Or communicating. It's just more communicating. I think like there's just more, it's a informative post, I feel like, or something. And I didn't have anything to say on there really.
Right.
So and then on TikTok, I wasn't really doing TikTok. I mean, I originally didn't have it on there because I thought they would like track you. Like when that first came out, they had on Good Morning America, like, don't let your kids download TikTok when it very first came out. So I was sort of like, it's a bad thing.
You know what? It's really, really fun. I've gotten very comfortable on it. So I would encourage you to just throw something on there, that a reels or something. Here I am trying to suggest, like, who am I? But it's really fun, and you can pick different music. I don't know. I'm really liking it lately. That's just my thing, and I can help you with it. Not that I'm a pro at all.
No, I do need to figure it out more. I do think it's fun to watch them sometimes because I laugh. So I like the funny ones, but some of them I just don't even get what they're about though. I'm kind of like, what's the point of that?
What has been your biggest challenge since you've been working at Barstool?
Doing all of it, I think, like it like everything takes me a really long time to do, even if it's just a little post on Instagram. Like before, I didn't have to think about it that much because I could just say, oh, it would be, something that I loved and I just put it out there and it didn't matter. But now I have to think about it. I have to think about what the swipes and the words. And I was never very clever about putting little quick words to it anyway, like the description. So, but now I have to think about it more. And so one little post can take me a day and a half. And I hate that because it's draining.
It
So I
won't
hope
take you that. Yeah, it won't take
gets
you that
easier.
long. You know what I started doing? Again, not giving you any advice. That I used quotes that resonated with me about the photo or the video, and that helped me. That helped to prompt me a little bit about why I picked that quote, and then I usually elaborated from there. So just a
Oh, that's
suggestion.
good.
Right?
No, that's a really good idea.
Yeah. So I just go to Pinterest, find something that really like, I talk about strong women being fearless and being fierce and being fit and so on and so forth. So I would just go into the search bar and search for things like that. And then that helped me because I had the same thing, because I would be like, well, okay, what am I going to say about this? And then you just stay on it so long and you get so in your head.
Yeah.
You can't get out there, right? And
No.
does your daughter say, Mom, come on, you gotta move this? Does she give you these tasks?
Yeah. No, she's like, Mom, you're overthinking it. Just stop. And she can take my phone and go, oh, say this. And I'm like, oh, that's perfect. In like 2 seconds, she can say that. So and I love that. But that's how she thinks. So she's got a quicker, more witty sense of humor. I do overthink everything. That's my resolution. I am not overthinking things this year. So I'm going to try really hard.
And that's really hard, because I think that when we overthink things, that we are facing our fears. And that's us saying, well, if I put this out, if I put out my gut feeling, it may offend somebody, or somebody may not resonate with it, or it may not do well, or it may not get any engagement, or it may not get any likes. And then Alex may not like it. And then she's going to give me a hard time. So the bottom line is that you fear. That's what kept me back for so long.
Yeah,
That's why I could understand that.
It probably isn't fear. I hadn't really thought about it that way, but it probably is. Otherwise I wouldn't care. And then I would just put it out there.
Exactly. And speaking of fear, I talk a lot about fear that a lot of women, not just our age, but younger, 20s, 30s, 40s, begin to fear the aging process. They're in their 20s, they're 25, and they're like, I got this. Then they turn 28, 29. You remember that? Wait a minute. Now I had a daughter at 28. So when I was 28, you were, how old were you when you had your children?
I was 28 when I had Michael and 30 when I had Alex. Yeah.
Okay. So I was 28 and 32 when I had my children. So we're the same age. So, you get there and you're really not focusing, and this might be different for you, but you're not really focusing on yourself, right? You're only focusing on the well-being of your children, having a beautiful household, spending time with your husband, being a family. But then you wake up one day and you're 35 and you say, wait a minute. So do you have any fears about aging?
Mostly my fears about aging are just having body ache, like not like physically, really like something that I can't control or fix or make better. That's my biggest fear about aging, or losing my mind. Those kind of things.
Yeah.
Are my biggest fear. But for the vanity part of it, like, you go, oh, wow, I have gotten out of shape all of a sudden. Just like in the 5 months I've been doing this with Alex, traveling back and forth, I've kind of let go of my eating regime hasn't been as healthy, and my workout has kind of slacked because it's been too hard going back and forth. And it doesn't take much. Like, you can lose your muscle really fast when you get older.
If you don't use it, you'll lose it.
You lose it fast. Like, okay, 2 weeks I've lost it. Then I have to really work hard to get back. And so just with that happening now, I think that's a lot. So knowing you still, as hard as it's going to be, you just have to keep fighting that part. Like, if I can stay strong, I can do more. I feel that way. And then about my face, I think, well, I had a facelift scheduled before Alex did all this. Then I had to cancel it.
You still don't need one.
Yeah. And then I'm like, well, maybe I don't. I mean, I kind of go, I was just sort of getting in that obsessive thing about it. And There is a difference when you're in New York City as opposed to when you're in Oklahoma City, as opposed to when you're in LA, the way that people think. And I'll say that being in New York City has been really fun because it's almost like everyone on the street is just all in it together. Everyone is got everyone's back kind of thing. I go, people dropped off stuff at Alex's apartment. I'm like, they know where you live. And she's like, yeah, but it's like everyone is just, it's almost like they're really kind. And I don't remember that about New York before.
Right.
Like when I was young, and maybe times have changed and maybe I just wasn't in it long enough to know.
And maybe the pandemic has softened people,
Maybe,
maybe
yeah.
their hearts are a little bit bigger. So in the hustle and the bustle back and forth and not being able to stay on your fitness routine and eating the healthy foods that you normally do. So now in the new year, have you decided, okay, I'm going to create this structure for myself because I know that I need to keep feeling strong in my body because it makes me feel strong in my mind because they're so connected.
Yes, no, for sure. I feel like I've said I've got to figure it out pretty quick. When I get to New York, it's like I've got to find a place. So I've really been trying hard to figure out someplace close by that I can do Pilates or yoga or whatever.
I'll ask my daughter, but I'm sure that everybody you work with can tell you, where you can
Well,
go.
again, they're a lot younger, so they're kind of doing different things
Right.
than kind of the path that I want to go on. So, and there's so many things to do there. It's overwhelming. I mean, like options. So you got to find what's right,
I
which is
know.
that's a good problem to have. So I'm not sad about that, but it's just kind of trying to find that. I was doing that Peloton app at home all through the pandemic, which was great.
Me too.
And yeah, so, and I still have been doing that as I travel, but it's just not quite enough, I don't think, for right now.
Tell me about the cocktails.
Okay, so we've been doing a
So as we're
cocktail of the
talking
week.
about fitness and health, let's
Yeah.
get into the alcohol because your
Yeah.
drinks look so beautiful and you strike me as a very creative person. I know we were talking about content and so on, but you just strike me as the way you carry yourself, the way you look, and the drinks that you make are just beautiful. I'm a tequila girl, so I just put my reposado, my Casamigos reposado, throw some ice and, a little bit of club soda and I'm good to go. But yours look pretty. Tell me about them.
Well, Alex wanted to start that because I think we'd made a Christmas drink or something. And so, and I do like to make drinks, but I'm with you. I'm pretty happy with just my ranch water. Yeah. So, but we were doing it through the holidays and that's when you really want to be fun and pretty. And so we just kind of did Christmas margaritas and then we did a mistletoe martini and kind of spiced them up a little bit, made them look pretty with some rosemary and I think that's fun because it's hard to come up with drinks a lot that are easy and fun when you're just kind of by yourself. So when you watch someone make it, you go, oh, I'll do that. And that's
right.
Fun.
Exactly. Yeah. So what's to come on Cause I Said So? What are the topics that you are pursuing to bring and teach us? Because one of the things I heard Alex say, and she says this a lot, and I love this about it, is that, it's about you bringing information to people to enlighten them, to educate them, sort of like what I'm doing here too, but as a mother and daughter. And by the way, if I haven't said it already, I love the show. And I do love the banter between the two of you. I think you do it beautifully. I think you do it respectfully. And I think you set a great example for a mother and daughter relationship. So bravo.
Thank you. That's very nice to hear. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
She did mention that she wanted to maybe do a couple of trips because a lot of mom daughters travel and that's a whole new dynamic, when you're traveling a little bit, how that can go. And then she's going to bring her husband on for one of the shows while I'm in Oklahoma City, which will be good.
Oh, that's nice.
So, yeah. So, and then we're still just kind of learning and growing. And she asks, people that are watching what they want to hear. And so we're still just kind of trying to figure it out.
Now, are your friends telling you, hey, Kim, I love the show. Why don't you say this? Or why don't you talk about this? Are they giving you ideas for the show? Because I know that when I started my own business and started this radio show, that everybody has something to tell me. And then you've got to listen and then pull out the things that you want to talk about.
Yeah. No, they haven't as much as I thought they would. They'll kind of talk about what we talked about in the past. They'll go, oh, that was funny that you said that though. And then we'll talk about that. Alex did bring up a sleepover. So I kind of put that out to all my bridge girlfriends. We don't play bridge, but we did at the beginning. So for 25 years, we haven't been playing bridge, but so they all kind of commented on, what the perfect girl sleepover would be.
Yeah. And
So
I love
stuff
the
like-
advice. I love the advice you were giving about relationships when women are talking about their husbands. That I thought that was great advice, So I do think that I definitely got a lot of tips from it. So I think both younger and older generations and somewhere in between can be learning things. I was laughing out loud though when I was listening to the two of you talk about, and I know so many people who are listening could relate to this, is the punctuation in the text messages. So my daughters give me such a hard time because my eyes get tired. I need reading glasses now to look at my phone, even though I read your bio and didn't reach for my glasses. I don't know how I read that. Don't ask me how I read that.
Take mine off.
So what I do is I talk into my phone and I really try to enunciate every single word. But sometimes, and my youngest one, Lexi, will say, Mom, can you not do that? Because I have no idea what you're talking about. And the two of them will just laugh and we have no idea what you just said. And I think Alex said the same thing about you. And I it's hard to be texting on there all the time.
No, it is hard. And they can answer so quick and I'll try to type it out. And I'm not kidding. I even took a picture of this the last time. I swear sometimes that autocorrect won't change it till I hit send.
I agree.
Yeah. And so I took a picture and I sent it to him and they only one of them commented on it. But no, it's very frustrating because I'm like, wait a minute. I know you're smart. So you can interpret what I was trying to say.
Exactly. And but they have to be so exact. And I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know if it's a daughter thing. That might be a really good question for you guys to ask. But it's the punctuation. I put periods at the end of my sentences also. And
I put periods in the middle of mine, and that's a problem. I don't know why. I think I just hit certain things. So no, she did make fun of me because I put a period. Yeah. And she was like, that's what was that boring or is that not interesting? Why didn't you put an exclamation point?
Right. Yeah. So what kind of dreams do you have for your daughter? Where do you see her? Like when you think about Alex and where she should be at a certain time in her life as her mom, where do you see her?
You mean as opposed to like it going forward in her life?
Yeah. Like as a mom, your dream for your daughter.
Oh, well, my dream for my daughter mostly is to be happy, first of all, and to have a healthy marriage, a successful marriage. And then for any of her dreams, I hope that she is always able to pursue them with a lot of support. If it's having kids or having a career or both, whatever it is that she wants to do, I just want her to be happy doing it.
And you
and
have
healthy.
Yeah. And so it's so obvious that how important your family is to you. My children are everything to me. They come first with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that love that you have for your daughter, and I'm sure for your son as well. It's so large but it comes through in the show. So I appreciate that. And, congratulations on being on Barstool Sports and working with your daughter. And I just have one last question for you.
Okay.
What does living a fearlessly authentic life mean to you?
I think it means to me not being afraid and putting myself out there, but mostly staying true to my values and who I am, like not changing myself for anything that I might want to do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I hear that in the way you speak and the way you carry yourself. And Alex is very lucky to have you as her mom, and so much success and congratulations again. Where can people reach you if they want to listen to the show?
So the Barstool Sports, because I said so, is on YouTube and it's on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to a podcast. We drop a new show every Thursday morning. And that's it.
Well, I am just thrilled that you had the time to be on the show, and I hope to stay in touch with you. And thank you so much for everything. And for everybody listening today, thank you so much for tuning in, and go live a fearlessly authentic life. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jody.